I thank the member for Barker. The question now is that the amendment be agreed to. The member for Greenway.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, as I move around my community, it's very clear that there is probably one word that summarises the mood of the electorate, and that is uncertain. There is grave uncertainty in many parts of Australia, and indeed in many parts of my electorate of Greenway, where people are uncertain about nearly everything in their lives. They're uncertain about whether they will have any work the following week. They are uncertain about their kids' futures and what jobs they will have. They're uncertain about key infrastructure issues, particularly in the growing northwest part of my electorate, where once there were paddocks and farms. The amount of houses going up in these areas is gathering pace every single week. So there is tremendous uncertainty about what that will mean for the quality of life of local residents. It is the job, Mr Deputy Speaker, it's the job of governments to ensure that that uncertainty is addressed with a plan, that is addressed in a way that recognises the needs of local communities and their desire to have a quality of life that one would reasonably expect in the year 2020. It's therefore of great concern, Mr Deputy Speaker, that we see what is happening under this Liberal government and the way the economy is floundering. You only have to look at a couple of the key facts in relation to economic indicators. Economic growth has slowed since the election last year, slowed since the now Prime Minister became Prime Minister, and slowed since the Liberals came to office. Underemployment, it's high, with almost 2 million Australians looking for work or for more work. There is weak wages growth. It's slowed even further, and this government is presiding over the worst wages growth on record, and wages are growing at 1/5 of the pace of profits. Household living standards have declined under this government, with real household media income lower than it was in 2013. I can tell you, Mr Deputy Speaker, as I move around my community, no one is saying they feel things are going well. No one is saying they think there is a plan in place. No one appears certain about the future. And that impacts on different communities in different ways, as I'm sure with many other members of this place. I service an electorate that is very diverse. It has people who have some of the most challenging socio-economic conditions, which only seem to be becoming exacerbated and worsening. I represent people whom I've door-knocked and I've asked them how they're feeling, what they think government should be doing, what sort of needs they have and how I can respond to them. I continue to be overwhelmed by the number of people who call themselves part of the sandwich generation. And I mentioned this in a speech a few months ago in this place. The number of people who are around my age, around middle age, who have their own children, who are looking after elderly parents, in some cases grandparents. So in fact they are the primary carers of essentially two different levels of their own family. Many of us are fortunate in that we have the support of families and the incomes to enable that to happen. But, Mr Deputy Speaker, I don't know what happens to those families and to those individuals who don't have that support. I don't know what happens to those individuals who don't know how to reach out for help or have reached out for help and haven't been able to get it. But I will say, Mr Deputy Speaker, as I mentioned, the issue of underemployment is again one that continues to be exacerbated in our society. And only very recently, in another reminder of the structural issues in the labour market, as my colleague, the member for Gorton, pointed out, 1.2 million Australians are looking for more work but are unable to find it. Almost 2 million Australians are underutilised, so they're looking for work or for more work because the economy is floundering, as I stated earlier. And with an underemployment rate of 8.6%, an underutilisation rate of 13.9%, that just means that our most critical resource, the human capital of our society, is going to waste, and there is no plan to turn this around. There is no plan for those people who want to be hard-working Australians, who want to do the best for themselves and their families and get ahead, and that is a crying shame.